And I now invite to the floor the distinguished representative of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, speaking on behalf of a group of friends in defense of the Charter of the United Nations.
Señor Presidente.
President, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has the honor of taking the floor on behalf of the group of friends in defense of the Charter of the United Nations. President, despite the long-standing international consensus enshrined in countless General Assembly and Security Council resolutions on the question of Palestine, the recent developments show that independence and rights of the Palestinian state have actually been obstructed over almost 57 years of colonization and annexation by Israel. This is a fact which is even acknowledged by the leaders of the occupying power themselves. This systematic violation of their right to self-determination is part of the oppression of the Palestinian people. Today, responsible members of the international community have an opportunity to honor our promise of independence to the Palestinian people, to repair this historic injustice with concrete, practical and positive steps. President, for over 76 years, Israel has refused to recognize the very existence of the Palestinian people, and much less their rights to self-determination. For over 76 years, the occupying power has done it all, from apartheid and occupation policies to illegal settlements, from sieges and blockades to home demolitions, from military brutality and terror and widespread terror to war crimes and crimes against humanity, all with the clear objective of obstructing the two-state solution and the independence and definitive sovereignty of the State of Palestine, with East Jerusalem, Al-Quds al-Sharif, as its capital, with the pre-1967 borders, which is the cornerstone of a just and lasting solution. These criminal policies and practices, endured by the Palestinian people with great resilience and dignity, are a demonstration of Israel's conviction that it is above the law, and that it can violate this law without accountability for its acts. This dangerous perception is the result of years of impunity, which have merely emboldened the occupying power to continue with its colonial plans of expansion and the annihilation of the Palestinian people through violence and terror, in clear contempt of the tenets enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, the most basic norms of international law, including international humanitarian law, and the resolutions of both the General Assembly and the Security Council concerning the question of Palestine. These, in particular, are legally binding and must be fully respected and immediately implemented by Israel. The disdain of the occupying power for international law is no less than the result of a framework of impunity which historically has been facilitated to it by one of the permanent members of the Security Council, the United States of America, which recently vetoed the admission of the State of Palestine as a full member state of the United Nations, in spite of the support of the resounding majority of that body. It is precisely this veto that Israel de facto exercised through one of its closest allies within the body mandated by the Charter of the United Nations to maintain international peace and security. This is what has allowed the occupying power to believe that it should have a say in the question of the independence and sovereignty of the State of Palestine, and in its admission to the United Nations as a full member state. Israel believes that it can thwart the realization of this right indefinitely. President, a few voices have recently claimed that it is premature to take action on the question of the admission of the State of Palestine as a full member state of the United Nations. To these countries, which today are the main obstacle to peace and stability, both in Palestine and in the Middle East as a whole, we would ask, how could a decision on this matter be premature? After 12 12 years since the State of Palestine submitted its application for admission to membership to the Security Council. How could it be premature when Palestine, a peace-loving state within the meaning of Article 4 of the Charter, has spent the past 50 years in waiting as an observer in this organization? How could it be premature to advance towards the realization of the legitimate national aspirations of the Palestinian people when these have been delayed for over 75 years? President, we cannot continue to perpetuate ad infinitum this matter, and therefore we demand that if indeed there is a political will, as is claimed, words and promises must be translated into concrete actions, which must finally bring an end to one of the most painful conflicts of our times. Returning to the previous status quo is not an option. The situation on the ground is calamitous and dramatic, particularly over the last 7 months, in which we have all witnessed a horrifying carnage against the Palestinian people in Gaza, which has claimed the lives of nearly 35,000 civilians, particularly women and children. It is necessary to urgently reach a ceasefire that would allow for full, unhindered and safe humanitarian access in the Gaza Strip, but also to preserve a political horizon, to establish a platform for the liberation of the Palestinian people from Israel's colonial oppression. This platform would precisely be the admission of the State of Palestine, today recognized by 144 nations, as a full member state of the United Nations. Therefore, for all of the above reasons, we conclude by reiterating our firm commitment to the just cause of Palestine, as well as our full solidarity with the heroic Palestinian people in their struggle. And we also urge that the question of the admission of the State of Palestine as a full member state of the United Nations be addressed as an act of justice and decolonization, which will allow for the realization of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people to freedom, self-determination and independence. An act which allows the State of Palestine to take its rightful place among the international community. I thank you, President.